You're listening to WooSox Insider, presented by your Worcester Red Sox.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the WooSox Insider podcast. As always, with Dylan McCaffrey and producer Dave Leonardi, I'm TQ. We have some very special guests from the control room of Polar Park today. It's Brendan Black and Lexi Richardson, who essentially, if you've been to a game at Polar Park in 2022, everything you've seen or heard is they're doing. So thanks for joining us in the middle of this long homestand, just taking a little more time to do work because you haven't been doing too much of it anyway, right?
Yeah, so glad to be here.
So glad. Right in the middle of the mammoth homestand.
We are 8 games into a 12-game homestand. I was feeling real tired and dejected a second ago, but now that I'm wearing these sunnies, I'm really feeling myself. Can you guys see Polar Park in the reflection of these things?
Yeah, and the target's on a rainy Thursday morning. What is up with the sunglasses?
So these are in the broadcast booth. These are our rally sunglasses that we wear at the end of games that are close. The broadcasters do. They're WooSox branded. They sell them in the team store. So these are for sale. And I gotta say, it's 9 a.m. It's not 9 a.m. It's 10 a.m. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what time it is. We're just cooking here, WooSox Productions. And when I put these things on, I got a good feeling about myself today. I think I'm the only one though. Everyone else looking tired.
Yeah,
I'm exhausted right now. Yeah.
The sunglasses definitely look a lot better on Jay Burnham than they do you, but you still look nice.
That's true. No, that's true.
So we'll start with Brendan alphabetically. Tell us where you're from, what got you into baseball, and what got you here.
So
I name is Brendan
listeners.
Alphabetically instead of Alexandria.
I know.
I always forget your name is Alexandria.
Just go by last name.
Alphabetically by last name, yeah. Yep.
BB.
So yeah, go ahead, BB.
Yeah, don't like that. But I grew up right down the road in Westboro, so I went to Westboro Public Schools and played baseball for Westboro High, played our district finals in Worcester. It was, so and after college, it was, I didn't do a lot of in production, I say like officially outside of like freelance work, and I just happened to stumble upon the WooSox having their job fair a couple years ago, and I made sure to be there bright and early, got in, and was able to talk with TQ and Joe, and we were able to, the rest is history, really. Now we're in my second year, and I feel like I've been here for a decade. So
that's how it works. So Lexi, also local. Tell us
Also
where you're
local.
from, how you got here.
I am right down the road from Grafton, Massachusetts. Went to Grafton High and was always techie, not as much sportsy, which I guess makes sense for productions. And ended up at the job fair pretty much the same way. Graduated in 2020 and was looking for a job and kind of fell into productions and have really succeeded in that role.
I'll say so.
Just
That job fair is such a blur to me. We talked to so many great people that day, great people that now work here, many of whom, because we hired them from the job fair. Eric Olofsson, if you're listening, I apologize. I interviewed him at that job fair, and I don't even think I even gave him a call back, and he got hired in another department, and now he's our proud WooSox drummer and helps out with our events and pretty much everything we do here.
Our short king.
Eric is the best. Eric Sweet Eric, as we call him, is just
Sweet
always
Eric.
down for the cause. But Lexi, I thought it was interesting you mentioned always on the sort of tech side. You're not so much a baseball fan, right?
Not so much a baseball fan, no. I do like sports, but hockey is my main sport to like, and not baseball. But have slowly fallen in love with baseball working at the WooSox.
Yeah, and it's easy to fall in love with baseball when you have someone love baseball and love the stories behind it as much as Brendan does.
Yeah, I grew up. I'm the youngest of 5. I have 3 older brothers, 1 older sister. My older sister refused to play softball when she was a kid because all of her older brothers played baseball and she wanted to play baseball. So she did that. And baseball's always been in my family. Red Sox have always been like number one on our, every summer night, the game's on. My dad coached me all throughout, up until basically high school, and played in high school, played in college. And so, yeah, you could say I enjoy baseball a little bit. And my brothers and I, I'm 28. My brothers are from 9 years older than me to 7 to 5. And, but some of them worked in the Worcester area as Polar Park was being built. And we always were joking around about like, oh, it's the WooSox are coming in town and whatever. And my brother Mike would drive by every day and he would give us like a video update of what Polar Park was looking like as it was being built. And I was like, oh, this is so cool and whatever. And it was actually just a random day, and I think it had to have been February or something like that. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to check to see if WooSox are hiring. And that day that I went on the website was the day that you guys posted the article announcing the job fair. And I was like, all right, this is going to work.
Serendipitous.
I have a pretty similar kind of situation. I worked across the street from where Polar Park was built, and I watched it be built while at my other job, and it actually took over my parking lot.
It's a rough start with the team.
Yeah.
This whole thing has been a long con from Lexi to get her parking spot back.
Brendan and Lexi, you guys have been running the entire in-game show. I've been doing very little for it, which has freed me up to pay a little more attention to some of the administrative work, which I think is important, but not as fun, really. But what is it like coming in? Obviously, you had a season under your belt. You're both here last year, but what is it like coming in and essentially leading a team of young professionals trying to break into either the sports industry or the production industry and trying to get everyone on the same page and put on a great show for 9,000 strong every night?
I'll let Lexi take that. She's been directing most of the games, so.
I think it's great watching everybody, especially the new kids and like the really young kids, like bloom into positions and really find what they like to do. It's really fun to watch everybody grow every single game. Start a season, a lot of people are untrained, didn't know what they're doing, but we're just happy to be here. And now everybody comes in and has a good time, and we get the show done, and it looks great.
Yeah, I think it's really cool because you have people coming from all different parts of production. The way I said it to a lot of people is you have so many people who are experts in their own rights and different things, whether that could be Photoshop, video editing. But a lot of that stuff is, you're on your computer working. Whereas when you're in the live production and you're putting on a show, stuff's happening quickly, stuff's going. So you come in with these, a lot of these people who are extremely talented, a lot of these kids coming out of college, things like that. And they're hesitant because you walk into that control room and you see a million colored lights and you see buttons, you see TVs, you see servers, and you just go, well, how could one person know any of this or all of this or whatever? And the real thing is there's one person who knows all of it. His name's Josh, and he's an engineer. and and the rest of us have I would say a surface knowledge of everything in the room, or at least close to it. And then, it goes deeper with a lot of other people, but we're teaching each other. We're learning from each other. We're like every single game, someone's learning something new. And there's pressure situations, but I think it's cool because you get to see how people react under pressure. And then you get to also look outside and you get to see the fans as we're freaking out in the control room. They're outside laughing, having a good time. They notice none of our mistakes, but all of us on the inside are like, oh no, we got to make it right. So it's cool seeing the difference. And you see people when you walk out of the park, they're all laughing, having a good time, talking about what their favorite moment was. The team could have lost by 10, but they're coming out of there having a great time. And you had a part in that. So it's pretty cool.
What's your favorite moment of like when you got a reaction from the crowd? Be it like you're just like going with like a grand slam that everyone's already cheering, or like it's a dead moment, but you get the crowd to give a laugh for something during a rain delay game. What comes to mind?
Oh, Lexi, we had one.
It was the first time we did the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme
Yes.
song, and the
Yes.
whole crowd just laughed.
Yeah, because it was
audible laughter came
I
out
think it
after
was-
an error.
Yeah, Rochester made an error, and like the whole control room was like, curb, 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 and we all start pointing over to Patrick, our DJ, and Patrick puts the curb song on, and Lexi directs the replay, and you're looking out at people right outside laughing in the game, and it's like, boom, did our job.
And that's an incredibly special thing that you don't see at the major league level, is just that blatantly poking fun at
Yes.
a guy making an error. But even more so, at the time, the WooSox were towards the end of what ended up being a 10-game losing streak.
Yep.
And it's still a Saturday or Sunday. It's still a sellout in the middle of a 10-game losing streak. And you got the whole crowd to audibly laugh out loud, which I have never seen at a sporting event in person ever. To just it felt like they were at a comedy show. It was crazy.
That's one of those moments that we talk about all off season, and then it's like the fourth inning when it happens, and we're all like, "All right, we can go home." That was today's a win.
My personal
Got it
favorite
done.
crowd reaction is when I played Tetris on the big board during a rain delay last season, and then like two kids came up to the window over there at the control room. Were like, "You're really good at Tetris," and it just made the whole day worth it. At that point, it was awesome. I
Res-
love-
are really good
it's
at
a
Tetris.
resume.
Maybe we'll
builder.
get a Tetris day today if we get a rain delay.
we have the walk up video.
It's true. We can play Dave's walk-up video. Dave was our control room, for lack of a better term, test dummy. I did have a better term there. I just wanted to use that one.
Oh, dummy.
Dave's got
it's an old
sick
podcast trick.
Dave's got a sick walk-up video that we'll have to break out someday.
Gonna need
They
to
might
see
be the
that.
day.
Next time. That rain delays are always just trying to find anything to do to keep people entertained. And everyone
had
in
a
the control room
3-hour rain
spitballing
delay.
ideas. Yeah. Everyone in the control room spitballing ideas. And then Dave was like, I'm really good at Tetris.
Well, no, here's what happened. I looked at you and I was like, "Hey, TQ, can I run up some Tetris real quick?" Because I was bored and there was like a 3-hour rain delay going on, and I'm on scorepad. So I started playing Tetris, and all I hear, I'm the only one like not on comms in the room, and all I hear to my left is TQ going, "Yeah, can we get RF up here to get Dave playing Tetris?"
Yeah.
Next
The
thing I know,
wireless camera on Dave playing Tetris. We weren't doing anything else. There was no Red Sox game on, no Bruins, no Celtics, nothing.
Just Dave.
just
Just
Dave.
Dave. Dave playing Tetris. That's it.
The RF camera came clutch though at that game preseason. We're getting all the crew trained, trying to get everyone ready for the season. We got was that the high school teams or the college teams?
College. That was
The Assumption game.
Yeah. Stone
We had
Hill.
Assumption come to the park, and you'd think a 3-hour rain delay would bring things to a dead halt, but not when you got TQ and Lexi and Dave and Brendan in the control room putting on a show for everyone.
I
That was,
honestly
the
don't
Polar
even
Palm debut.
Oh,
I don't
that's right.
remember it either.
I forgot about it. It was Brendan's in ballpark host debut.
It was.
Mm.
Yeah. You guys might not remember it. Some of the college kids that were there might not remember it. As we were playing down in the concourse, that was kind of funny. TQ came up to me and just looked at me. He's like, "Hey, do you want to go host Polar Pong down in the concourse?" And I was like, "Yeah. What are the rules?"
What are the rules?
I was like, "What am I doing?" And then he's like, "Yeah, just go down there and host it. These are the rules. They hit 1, they hit 2, and they weren't actually winning prizes at this point, so they were just playing pong. So we kind of just had to like come up with rules on the fly. Me and Jordan, I forget what Jordan's last name is.
Sealy Ashford.
There we go. Jordan Sealy Ashford. But he went down there. He was, the ambassador setting up the game, and TQ just gave me a hot mic, sent down Dave. Were you on RF?
I think that was
Yeah.
my first time using that camera.
Yeah, Dave's on RF, like holding people back as he's like holding the camera, and then like we blinked, and before we knew it, we had like 100 people all crowded around us with like little kids wanting to play. It got out of hand quick.
Once the little kids started taking shots, that's when it was just chaos. There
It
wasn't
was
any. There was
chaos.
there was no organization after that. Once the little kids, because then it turned into, oh, I want to turn.
Yeah.
I like that the impression we're giving off that if you come to Polar Park, we see something on the video board. It could have been 3 months of work or 3 minutes of preparation, and anywhere in between.
Anywhere in
We either died for this thing to get up on the board for your entertainment, or it was just like, what if we did this? Do it now, please.
Yeah, do
It's
anything.
so true.
I feel like more times than not, it's the latter. Like, this is a great idea. Let's put it on.
Let's try it. Yeah.
During
How
the
about
season, it's just so easy to lose track of time, I feel.
Yeah, like the other day we had a couple Fridays ago, we had 2 proposals at Polar Park.
Last
And
Friday.
yeah, typically we put a
Have,
proposal with
like
Kiss
2 a
Cam.
year.
Right. Saks Jewelers is the presenting partner of both proposals and the Kiss Cam. Fantastic partner, and Grand Slams too, which is a fun promotion. But normally when someone asks for a proposal, we go through this vetting process to make sure it's real and we don't have any repeats of last season. And we got one of them early. We go through this vetting process. Then the morning of the game, another couple who had been together for 13 years reached out and they said they wanted to do it. So we had, Lexi, I think after our day of game meeting, we had like an hour-long meeting with Brooke Cooper, the assistant general manager, and with Dr. Charles Steinberg, the president, and all of our ambassadors who organize everything on the field and all of our contestants, just trying to figure out where we can do it and how we can get this couple up on the dugout without them realizing that there's going to be another proposal, because they just watched one happen.
Yeah, what was going through the mind up there when you said the second couple had been dating a lot longer, if memory serves correctly. They've been dating for like
You said 13 years, yeah.
13 years. So it's like you just watch someone get proposed to on the opposite dugout. An inning later, you go up on the dugout. I guess 13 years in, maybe you're thinking like, I don't know, like obviously it's going to happen. Maybe there's been a lot other situations where you thought it was going to happen, but it happened at Polar Park.
Yeah, I'd like to know their backstory. Yeah, I'd like to know their backstory a little bit more. Get a little deeper dive into it. Maybe it's next week's
have them on the
guest for you
podcast.
guys. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, honestly,
yeah.
that's not a bad idea.
Brooke Cooper loves love. There are very few times that she
Loves
is
love.
in the broadcast room, probably like a control room, and for both proposals, she's like pacing around in the back, getting all excited for it. It was so funny to see. And she left the room after the second one. She's like 2 for 2.
All I'm saying is, if we do have another wedding like we did last year, I am ordained. So you can be married by the scoreboard operator Dave, because I am ordained.
Why have
That
you?
should be a sold
Why
promotion.
are you ordained?
What? Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I officiated my sister's wedding.
Okay, how'd that go?
Awesome, dude. I made her laugh so hard she had to stop the ceremony for a second before the I do's. I was throwing in little jokes because she's like the oldest kid in the family, but she's like 5'1". So during the vows, like the repeat after me or whatever, I was like, oh, and may you never be above 5'4". And her fiance like started repeating that during the ceremony. It was great.
Oh wait, so that brings a follow-up question. What does it take to get ordained? What is the qualification?
Not much,
I don't know. My sister signed me up and paid for it, so you have to
signed
ask
you
her.
up. Jeez. Okay.
I have the
It's
piece
a
of paper
sign-up
though.
process?
I have the piece of paper though.
So I could like sign up my friend and they wouldn't even know.
I mean, yeah, technically you could.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think it's too hard of a process.
One day I'm gonna get Dave ticked off and he's gonna marry me in TQ.
I'm
We're
just
probably going to
imagining.
cut that whole thing.
I'm just imagining you show up and like you're like, oh yeah, we want to get married before the game. Like, it'd be awesome if we could do it the pregame ceremony. We're like, yeah, it's great. And actually, we have an ordained minister here too who can marry you. And then they're like, that's so fantastic. And you walk out and Dave's in like his like JD Martinez, just dingers, like
The burger hat on.
little like polo coming up.
It's got to have the burger hat on.
And he's on RF.
It's ready. Don't worry.
And he's on RF filming them.
Yeah, he's on the wireless camera down there. He's like, yeah, no, I can do it, but like I just got to get up before the game starts because I got to keep track of all the balls and strikes.
Fantastic.
So
That's one of my favorite things every single day is that pregame ceremony ends. We probably have like 10 minutes until the game actually starts. Dave's up here in 2.
yeah, so
Running.
Don't mess around. Okay, opening day, TQ was like, once they say play ball and they take Vsoft on the board, get up here for first pitch. So I got up there for first pitch. That's just
there's no doubt about that. Yeah, you definitely got up there. You still do. It's impressive, Dave, what you do. You go down there, you fly down there before the game, you're hustling around the RF and then fly right back up. And before you know it, I look over and you're over there. You might be a little sweatier than you were before, but you're back there and you're ready to go.
So fans, next time you're at Polar Park, you see the guy down on the field with the wireless camera pregame, know that he's scoring every game, like while play is going on. But to bring it back to the in-game presentation. So at the time we're recording this, it's Thursday, May 19th. Yesterday, Wednesday, May 18th, Brian Bayo made his AAA debut. He was phenomenal, and it was a Jaron Duran bobblehead night. A lot of people came out for a Wednesday night. And if you're one of those people that were here, you heard a lot of pop punk. Brendan and Lexi, what is up with that?
It was pop punk night. You weren't in the control room.
So unofficially pop punk night. Why?
It was emo night. We're trying to do a bigger emo night.
Well, we had an inside guy. We had Kevin Law over on our on DJing for the night, and he tends to find his music in the same vein as Lexi and I, and we have been petitioning for this for I'd say probably since I got comfortable here about a year and a half ago.
I've been petitioning for a long time for an emo night. The funny thing is, though, I wasn't even directing Kev to do that. I would just hear it through the speakers and I'd be like, oh my God, is this? And it was great. I was very happy about a woman singing Boys Like Girls to her baby. We got on the board and she was just singing to the baby, love drunk. It was great. The fans were into it just as much as we were.
Go Dave.
You go, Brendan.
The other part that I really
baby.
The other part that I really liked was when a player got ejected. I don't know what he said something to the ump, and we started. It was kind of more of this like deeper cut kind of pop punk song playing at first, but it's like this slow song or whatever, just kind of like sad about a breakup. And then we switched it into As He's Walking Off the Field, I Miss You by Blink-182, and that just really that touched me as he was walking off.
So I was on the radio broadcast that game. I ran down to grab a post-game interview for Nesson Plus, and that was the first time I really noticed that all I was hearing was pop punk. And I pulled my phone out and I was like, okay, I've only heard pop punk so far. I've heard like 4 songs. Maybe I'd tell him to tone it back a little bit. And then the ejection happened. I erased my text being like, hey, mix in something else. I erased my text and started typing Blink-182, I Miss You. He just got ejected. And before I could hit send, it started playing. And that's when I had a light bulb moment where I was like, maybe I've been micromanaging a little bit. Maybe I should just back off and do my own thing.
Yeah. Don't give us too much leash there, though. That's all you'll hear.
We'll just have a live performance from 4 Years Strong for the entire show.
Yep.
Yeah. Or you have the WooSox band.
Yeah.
So Brendan, you have some close ties with 4 Years Strong, right?
I've created some close ties over the past couple of years through my working at the WooSox. Yeah.
So when are they getting out here, you think? Do you think they would play Summit Street, or do we need something a little bit bigger for them?
I bet they would play like a small acoustic set, just the two singers. I think they would do that. They do their acoustic sets. Both of them live right in Worcester, so I think they would be willing to do something like that. I think they have aspirations to do something bigger, like something along with our, like, something along the lines of like what we do with the food truck and craft beer festival, where I know the Palladium did an outdoor show that was like kind of similar to that, where they brought in food trucks and they brought in stuff like that. And I think 4 Year Strong really wants to do that. And they're all alumnus of TQ's Doherty High. And so they, they all, what?
D what?
Yeah, I don't know your
D
high
high
school stuff.
Yeah, that's the chant. D what? D high.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, so hopefully at some point we're gonna get them to Polar Park. I got one of the singers out to the park last year for a game with him and his family, and I've stayed in contact with them. We have some, been in the works for a little while now to have them come here and do, some sort of a performance. So hopefully at some point in the near future, they are going to be back in Worcester touring with Newfound Glory, everyone else's favorite pop punk band, right? TQ, Dylan,
yeah,
Dave?
Big pop punk guy, yeah.
Pretty sure
Yeah,
it's
so
June
we'll see.
4th, if I'm right.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Want to plug the Palladium?
Yeah, everyone should be hanging out in downtown Worcester.
Yeah.
You
So
should get a band to play at the Craft Corner one of these days, like when we have a college night on Thursday. Some like live music out there on the Craft Corner. I think that would be cool.
Like you're at a high school football game, like
like
the
a
band is
band?
playing along the game.
I feel
I
like
was
we should have an
thinking-
organist. Like we should have an organist here.
Oh no,
Like-
don't give us any
That
idea.
would be
Dave,
awesome.
Dave, go find an organ.
And then an
Go find
organist.
Where do you get an organ?
We can put out a tweet.
I'm a donor.
Well done, very nicely done.
I'm
Oh,
going
when,
home.
when I got
Thanks, guys.
when I got my first license, I didn't know what organ donating meant, so I declined to say no on my first license because I didn't know what it meant.
Declined to say
no.
no. So you said
So
yes.
you were an organ donor.
No, wait, yeah, never mind. Okay, words. 10 in the morning. Go on with the next topic. I don't know anymore.
I
It's
love
almost
you, Dave.
11.
Same difference happens.
So
Yeah.
Lexi, here's another in-game presentation question for you. All of the graphics, full screen graphics, lower thirds for people's names, everything is your creation. So how long did it take to do that, and what went into making a graphic look that's all similar, no matter what video boards and sizing or what content is going up there, and making everything work at Polar Park?
Oh, it's definitely still a work in progress. So Sarah started in December of last year. It's still going. But I gotta thank Brian Simmons Hayes for kind of coming up with the general idea so that all of our social media and everything else in game and out of the park, everything looks pretty similar, which I love. It looks so much better than us all having different ideas. Everything looks cohesive when we all look like one solid brand and one solid team, which we definitely are. So it's really great that our graphics can really resemble how well we all work together and how well we can put on a show and make everything look well. And it's been a lot. I had to teach myself a whole new technology. Like, we all know the Adobe products because that's what we have to use in a production setting. But using like Ross Expression products has been a whole new hurdle for me. And I've been really trying to take it under my belt and help everybody else learn more about it. Because the whole, like, you see it, everything you see on the board comes from there. And that's the sequencer side of just sending it. But there's a whole other side of it that's data linking and connecting codes and visual logic and a bunch of different things that mean nothing to anybody else. But they're very powerful machines that we're very lucky to be able to use.
We have one engineer named Josh Greenstein, and our second engineer is Lexi Richardson. And if they're both not here, then I don't even try to fix the problem in Expression because I know I'm just going to break everything.
Lexi, you just started using Expression this year?
I used it last year, but that was the first ever time I used it. And I was
Lexi-
thrown on it. I was supposed to do social media for the WooSox, and I ended up on Expression.
That's insane to me, because you are so keyed in on it. That's kind of an inside pun there. I didn't like it either.
Get him out of here.
But no, it's really, really impressive knowing that you just you're relatively new to an extremely complex system. I don't want to touch that thing ever. But as the director, it's impressive though, being able to you have your back to the TD and who's working on Expression. You're like, yep, just you have your key on, you have this, blah, blah. You're able to just diagnose the situation on the fly and have it go. And that's kind of one of those things that if I, because I want to be able to direct in-game stuff at some point, but as I'm listening to you talk, I'm like, I think I need a little bit more knowledge before I'm ready to go in and lead the team like you do. So it's impressive.
Brendan, my question for you is, I know you also work for a real estate company doing production for them when it comes to video content and stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, I do social media marketing and video photography.
So as someone who works in baseball for productions and, non-baseball or sports for productions, how do those skills carry over into working for a baseball team for people who may work in productions for a company that's not in sports, that may want to get into sports, but are worried if their skills are going to translate or not?
Yeah, I think the coolest part about working with the WooSox is we have a lot of there are a lot of baseball minds in the control room and in our staff and whatever, but then there's a lot of people, like Lexi said, she's a hockey fan more than a baseball fan. So if you have the production knowledge and you're willing to learn and you're willing to grow in it, you don't necessarily have to have that the baseball, the sports side of things all down completely, and it's it's a whole team effort. So I think if you have the ability to do the video editing, photo editing, all that kind of stuff, it's just a matter of learning the basics of the game and learning what people want to see and what people don't want to see. I think it's actually kind of funny because just recently you saw I don't know if you guys saw this, the video of Tua throwing the ball to his his new receiver. Who did they get? Tyreek Hill. Yeah.
Dime.
No, well, but so
we're practicing, Brendan.
I understand you're practicing, but the way I look at that though is kind of funny because I can imagine they have in a really, really, really good production staff person who's out there filming. They're getting this awesome follow of the ball. They have this really cool shot. They edit it. They make it look all nice, and then they put it out on social media. In my mind, turns out that person's not a huge football fan and they don't understand that they've left the ball behind. So I just think it's cool because with the WooSox, everyone's here is learning on the fly, learning how to just so when we're in a game and someone goes, okay, can we show that replay? And it's they may not have the understanding of the situation of the play of why we don't want to show a close play at second base, because that's going to put the umps on blast, and you don't want to get on the umps bad side, and we don't want to get fined. We don't want to do it. So I just think it's a matter of, showing up, being willing to learn, being willing to grow in the position. And then also just also admitting what you do, what you know and what you don't know, because that's huge to be able to just do it. So I mean, I just think those production skills like that can translate over to a lot of different things as long as you're willing to put the effort into it. Great question, Dave.
Thanks, man. I only go to school for journalism.
More than just a producer. Look at that. Speaking of growing up, our baby boy Dave. So proud. I want to jump on that and kind of tie in Lexi's point, where in Pawtucket, Decaf and we didn't have the most up-to-date technology there. So it was a little bit harder to kind of come in and learn as much as you can on some outdated technology, and then say someone went off and got a job at like, I don't know, Spectrum News or got a job at Nesson. And then they have to relearn more of the state-of-the-art equipment that's a little bit more industry standard on the television broadcast side. But like Ross Expression, which is all of the graphics machines that we have for both the TV broadcast and our in ballpark entertainment here at Polar Park, those are industry standard. They have the same software at Nesson. They have the same stuff at ESPN, MLB Network. So just having a state-of-the-art ballpark, and again, having ownership and a president of the team that are privy to the production element of it and the artistry of it, and they invest in it because they see how important it is to tell the stories and to use in the market and get the word out there of what the WooSox are doing, who the players are, how the team is doing. And the added benefit is having kids who are trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives come in here, and they're able to learn exactly what equipment they would use if they go into the back of house TV production in sports media. They know what stories they should be looking for if they want to be on camera, or they know maybe they don't want to do either, but they see like the food and beverage team. They're like, wait a minute, I actually like this a lot. I want to get a little bit more into what goes into being a concessionaire or whatever it might be. But it's a cool environment to work in. I think it's easy for me to say when I'm technically all of your bosses. And this is a very pointed
You like
question.
it, don't you?
You like it, right? Yeah.
Manager reviews are due next week. TQ, I have a question for you. Do you hear from...
Do you like?
yeah. Yeah. Well, you guys don't have to answer that. Do you guys like, or do you hear from other, or are you connected to other people like in your positions around minor league baseball or minor league sports where you hear like, wow, you guys, the production value, you guys are like the amount of just technology and stuff that you guys have in the park comparatively to other minor league parks? Do you guys get to hear that kind of stuff? Because just from my experience, I mean, you go from McCoy to Polar, obviously that's a park built in the 50s and a park built 2 years ago. So
McCoy was built in the 40s, just want to say.
Sorry, 40s. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Open July 4th, 1942. Just want to. It's okay. It's okay.
So in the offseason, I actually heard from CJ Gates, who is in the same position as I am with the Buffalo Bisons, the AAA affiliate of the Toronto Blue Jays. And he had mentioned that they were looking to upgrade their control room. And the question he asked early in the offseason was, he said, I've watched your TV broadcasts. I've heard stories of people who came out to Polar Park. Everything, like I've seen you on social media, everything looks incredible. You guys are doing it at a standard I think is higher than most minor league baseball teams. What do you guys have? And he listed like, what do you have for switchers? What do you have for graphics machines? What do you have for microphones? What do you have for replay systems? What do you have for cameras? What do you have for everything? So I sent him a detailed list, and I was like, yeah, we're lucky that the president of the team comes from this background. So he's always pushing for the latest and greatest because he knows we're going to love learning how to use it, and we're going to try to implement it as much as possible and come up with cool new things that we can do with all the equipment. And CJ's been awesome to kind of bounce ideas back and forth with and learn what they have up in Buffalo, because during COVID for the last 2 years, Canada had really strict policies. So Buffalo actually hadn't been the full-time home of the AAA affiliate of the Toronto Blue Jays. It was the home of the Toronto Blue Jays, and they were putting on Major League Baseball broadcasts, and they looked at, even though at Solon Field, I think it's called, it's a gorgeous baseball field up in Buffalo. So I was actually surprised to see that it was CJ from Buffalo reaching out to me, because I was thinking they were just putting on great things, both from the major league side and the minor league side when the Bisons were playing there. But it just goes to show that as I'm getting more years in this industry, people are noticing the Worcester Red Sox. People are talking about Worcester, and they want to see what they can do to try to be more like Worcester, which I think as a group of people from central Massachusetts, Brendan, Lexi, and I, is really cool to kind of hear that turning, where before people were always kind of ragging on Worcester as like the little brother to Boston, and no one gives it any love because there's nothing to do out there. People are paying attention now. So to answer your question, yes,
yeah,
I do hear
really
from
cool.
people.
We're also talking technology. Since we have Ross Expression, we're actually one step ahead of TD Garden because they're still upgrading to Ross. So technically our stadium is ahead of TD Garden.
Ballpark.
Ballpark.
Yeah.
Boom.
That's
I
what
like that.
one of our favorite inside jokes. Anytime someone calls it a stadium, it's a ballpark. It's not a
Ballpark.
fully enclosed stadium. It's multi-purpose. It's a park. I think it was really funny hearing Tyler Murray, our new play-by-play broadcaster. He still calls it a stadium, just instinctively. And I think every time we hear him say it on the broadcast, just under our breath, we'll go ballpark.
Ballpark.
We missed you, Tyler. Tyler's been on the IL for a minute, but he'll be back for games this weekend, which already happened when you're listening to this. We have 4 more games of our 12-game homestand, which we are currently 8 games into. Our day of game meeting for today's game on Thursday starts in 1 minute. It is a Los Huepas
Right
de
there.
Worcester game. And we have a pretty big unveil. If you're hearing this, you've already seen it. Roberto the Rocket unveil going on today. All of it still yet to be planned. So if you're at the park today and you're listening to this, just know that the hours of 11 to 5 were very busy with planning materials. Thank you guys so much for coming on and for all the great work you do and for being amazing.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
See ya.
That's WooSox Productions, baby.
That's WooSox Productions, baby.